Hello and welcome back, everyone. I've just repeated that because it had going live and then it said live and going live again. So hopefully you are all there in the audience and you're enjoying today. It is nearly 2:00, so I'm really hoping that people have eaten. So everyone's got a new burst of energy for the afternoon. And I'm very, very excited to introduce our next presentation. So we have the lovely Darcy and Amy here with us from Aberdeen. And they're going to be talking about the different career options available to STEM graduates in asset management. Please remember during the presentation, if you've got any burning questions, pop them on the right-hand side in the Q&A box. I'm going to hop back on at some point to ask those questions. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Amy, who's going to start the presentation.
Thank you, Lizzie. And good afternoon, everyone. Darcy and I are delighted to be here speaking to all of you. Welcome to this year's RateMyPlacement event, which is obviously all about women in STEM for this session. As Lizzie mentioned, my name is Amy Ritchie and I'm the Early Careers Coordinator here at Aberdeen. So our firm is called Aberdeen. I'm so lucky to have such a fulfilling role as I get to change lives of students just like yourselves. My role offers me the opportunity to interact and engage with, really cool and talented individuals like yourselves. But most importantly, I get the opportunity to put students in contact with opportunities that are going to change their lives and enable them to build on, their careers from the very beginning, and hope that they get something really good in return that makes them become, pretty successful in the long term. I'm joined on this session with my colleague Darcy. She joined Aberdeen as an intern and she's now a graduate within our risk and compliance business. I'll hand over to Darcy shortly, but because obviously she'll tell you a bit more about her journey with us. But before I do that, I thought that I would just touch on a little bit about our organisation, just so that you know kind of what we do and what we're about. So in July of 2021, we changed our PLC name from Standard Life Aberdeen to Aberdeen. So you might recognise the name Standard Life Aberdeen and you maybe don't know as much about our name now, but we are the same company. We are one of the largest UK asset managers and we're a very proud Scottish company because our headquarters are in Edinburgh and we've also got offices in London. But aside from that, we're also really global. We're across Asia, the US and continental Europe. So our workforce is definitely global with over 6,000 colleagues. So at Aberdeen, we empower our clients to plan, save and invest for their futures. And we do this in 3 ways. The first way that we do it is through our investments vector, which brings together expertise from across markets, asset classes, and investment strategies. The purpose is to deliver client-centered solutions to our global, institutional, and wholesale clients. The second way that we do it is through our advisor vector, where we offer market-leading platform technology and tools that enable UK wealth managers and financial advisors to look after the diverse needs of our clients. And then the third way that we do that is through our personal vector, where we help individuals throughout the UK plan for their financial futures. Through our financial planning business, our digital direct to consumer services and discretionary fund management services. So through the expertise, insight and innovation of the colleagues that we have across the business, we aim to give our clients more confidence to achieve their investments goals. And we do all of this by delivering outcomes that are more than just financial, by investing sustainably to build a better world for the future. So I will hand over to Darcy now, but just before I do that, I really want to encourage you to ask questions. We don't want to leave here today, with you guys still having unanswered questions. So whilst Darcy's talking, try and think about what it is that you want to know, because we will have time at the end of this session that we can open up to you and find out what it is that you want to know. So Darcy, over to you now. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Hi, everyone. I'm Darcy. So just to give you a quick summary of my background, earlier this year, I graduated with a Master's in Physics from the University of Glasgow. I then joined Aberdeen, or at the time, Standard Life Aberdeen, on the summer internship programme within risk and compliance. And following that, I was then offered a place on the graduate scheme, which I just started at the end of September. In a few minutes, I'll kind of discuss a bit more about my internship and graduate experience at Aberdeen. But I first just wanted to talk a little bit about why I chose to study STEM and how it has led me into asset management. I chose to study physics because I'm naturally curious and I really just enjoyed it at school and I wanted to kind of study it a bit more. But I also knew that studying STEM would open up kind of a wide range of opportunities for my future career, which at 18, I had no idea what I wanted that to be. And I didn't really start to kind of think about that until my last years at uni. And that's when I started to realize just how beneficial a degree in STEM can be. I'm sure you've heard it kind of millions of times before, but the range of transferable skills that you develop are so valuable. You have your analytical and kind of analysis skills, but you also have the collaboration and innovation and so many more. And if I have any advice for you while you're studying, is to not just think about your next deadline or kind of your upcoming exams, but also think about what skills am I developing here and what am I learning beyond my subject? Because when it comes to applying for jobs, you'll then be able to discuss and explain times where you have shown certain skills. So why did I then decide to move into asset management? To be honest, when I came to the end of my 5 years of my degree, I really just wanted to do something a bit different. I really still enjoyed physics, but I wanted to take all the skills that I had developed and use them in a completely new environment. So I started to explore potential career options for someone with a STEM background. And this is when I really started to realize the strong link between physics, maths, and finance. So for example, Brownian motion is used to model the stock market. And this is basically what Einstein used to prove the existence of atoms. And there's so many other kind of examples like that that were just so fascinating to me. And I thought that a career in the industry would allow me to learn about something completely new, but also where I could maybe come across some underlying principles that were familiar to me. A lot of my skills I felt also aligned with asset management and finance. I had the kind of collaboration and communication from group projects. I had the analysis from lab work and problem solving from my thesis. So I was really confident that I had the skills to pursue a career in finance. So I started to kind of explore summer internship opportunities. I decided to apply specifically for the risk and compliance one at Aberdeen because it's a department that has oversight of the whole business. So I knew that it would give me a really good introduction to the industry and kind of good exposure to the business. I was then invited to an assessment centre and I actually, maybe oddly, really enjoyed my day, but I think that really is testament to the effort that the company puts into their early career programmes. And from then, throughout the internship and now on the graduate scheme, I feel really valued to the company. And I also feel really well supported, which I think is really fundamental to someone who is just beginning their career and trying to navigate that transition from uni into the world of work. Unfortunately, my internship was from home due to COVID, but I definitely found it really beneficial. I think moving from STEM into asset management, it really allowed me to try it out and kind of learn more about the industry before committing to a long-term role. I was also able to meet people from within the department and really get a feel for the culture, which I must admit, when I first started applying to jobs, I really didn't understand how companies could have different cultures. But now I really look at it as an integral kind of part of where I would then decide to work. And that's basically why I decided to stay with Aberdeen, because I felt like the culture really suited me. And I also felt that it was a really supportive environment where the focus is not just on the performance of the company, but also on personal development. And so I knew that kind of having doing the graduate scheme with Aberdeen, I'd be able to use this to my advantage and grow my skill set while also contributing to the company. So now on the graduate programme, I'm excited to get a feel for different teams within risk and compliance. I think it will give me the opportunity to kind of figure out what I want to do, the things I enjoy doing and the things I don't enjoy doing. And that is a reason why I would really encourage you to look at graduate schemes and things like that, because they allow you, some of them allow you to rotate through different teams. And coming from STEM into asset management, there are so many jobs that I never even thought would exist. And that really gives you the time to consider those as well. Currently, I am in the market conduct team. This is responsible for conducting investment surveillance, and we also hold the inside information for the company. I thought I'd kind of give you an idea of a typical day in my life. And so I will run through some of the things that I got up to yesterday. First, I check my emails. I think everyone does that, but we manage a mailbox where potential kind of market soundings or IPOs come in. We then need to research around the company to see if we trade it. We also need to then assess whether the information could have an impact on the company's share price. And if we think that it does, we will restrict it. And this means that no one internally can benefit from having that information. I then had a wider team meeting with investment compliance. Here we just discussed ongoing projects and some scenarios that had come up in surveillance. My team also does specific daily and monthly tests, which we rotate amongst us. So yesterday I was on email surveillance, where I review a sample of emails from the front office. Other days I could be on voice surveillance, or I could be on market abuse surveillance, which is one that I particularly enjoy doing because it's allowed me to have direct contact with the investment teams and question them on their thought processes and their research behind companies. So it's kind of given me good exposure to the front office. Next, I had a meeting about one of our monthly tests, and we're trying to come up with ways to improve it, which following that, I then worked on writing up a process note for that test. And then in the afternoon, we had a knowledge share session with someone from the Quant's investment desk. We had a few questions for them around how they operate. And we've done a couple of these now with kind of various teams. And it's been a really great way to get exposure to different areas and learn more about them. Of course, I have also come across some challenges, in particular trying to work out my balance and understanding how much work to take on. I think at the beginning, I definitely tried to take on too much, but I'm becoming better at managing that. And everyone in my team has been so supportive of getting that right, work-life balance as well. The team I'm in requires a very deep understanding of the investment process and the securities that we trade. So I found this really difficult to begin with because coming from STEM, I had such a limited knowledge of investments, but I've just been asking so many questions, and I've actually really surprised myself by how much I've picked up in a short space of time. So if that is something that you are maybe worried about, then I would honestly just say, be open to learning anything and everything, and don't be afraid to ask those questions that you may think are a bit stupid. Just to end on, for me, if you are thinking of pursuing a career in asset management, I would just emphasize what I said earlier about really understanding those transferable skills that you are developing, and then also think how they may relate into asset management or the particular role that you are applying for. I would also say, be confident in your background. I've definitely realized that coming from STEM, I am bringing a different perspective to asset management, and I'm really learning to take advantage of that. Because the processes I'm seeing are completely new to me, I am able to then kind of question why they're done in a particular way and think, could they be done in a better way, a more efficient way? And I think that has really made me a good asset to my team, having that fresh perspective. So I'm going to hand back to Amy now, but after that, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Darcy. That was really good. You spoke about things there that I didn't even know that you did in your graduate role. So thank you for that. I guess something that I wanted to cover with everyone was just to talk a little bit about how our programs work in terms of our traineeships, our internship programs, and our graduate programs. So as I said earlier, I'm the coordinator for the team. So I'm responsible for going to market and finding people that are suitable for these roles, and then also looking at how they develop when they're with us in the organisation. So our early careers programmes at Aberdeen form a vital part of our talent strategy. Not only do they vitalise the organisation with fresh thinking and new skills, and as Darcy said, bring a new perspective, these programmes are critical in driving greater diversity from gender to ethnicity to social mobility. Our programmes are also critical in fulfilling the broader community commitments to providing career opportunities to many students during challenging employment market conditions like now, because we know it's hard. We've got 3 core programmes, like I just said. We've got the traineeship, internship and the graduate programme. But I think for the purposes of this session, I'll just talk a little bit about our internships and our graduate programmes. So our internships run during summer every year. They last 10 weeks from June until August. You're placed in one team within a department in the organisation, and come the end of your internship, there's potential for you to be converted onto our graduate scheme for either the following September or the next again September, because sometimes we hire a year in advance. So it would mean if you were in your penultimate year at uni, you know you've secured a job a year in advance, which is obviously ideal. And then for our graduate scheme, that's a permanent contract for most of our departments. It just really depends on the opportunity that you're looking at. And all of our programmes are underpinned with tailored development. You get support in gaining a professional qualification. You've got a supportive line manager and a buddy. And you've also, as an employee, you've got access to a variety of diversity networks internally. And that's just to name a few of the benefits. There's a whole bunch of reasons why you should be an employee for us. And you can read all about that on our website. The main thing that I just want to highlight to everyone is we're live with our opportunities now for 2022. So if you like the sound of working for our company, or you just really have a curiosity and want to read about it, then if you go on our website, you'll be able to see the departments that have opened up for interns and graduates for next year. We're always looking for individuals from a STEM background. I think you would be really surprised at how many areas are looking for students with a STEM background. So I really do urge you to go and have a look. Even if you're not set on it, just read about it and have a think about it. But yeah, I think now is probably the best time to open up for questions, because I'm hoping that through the last, 15-20 minutes or so, some of you have questions for us. So Lizzie, I wonder if I hand back to you to find out if we do have any questions.
We do indeed. Yeah, we've got quite a few that have come in. So I have picked the best ones for us to start on. So we'll see how far we get. We've got just over 10 minutes, which is excellent. So yeah, let's start. We've got, great questions for both of you. Okay. So if I mix it up, if we start off, I think Darcy, it was great to hear about the day in the life of what you're doing. You seem very, very busy, lots of things going on. But it's really refreshing hearing about the different things that you do, because they're the types of things that you just can't hear about unless you're at an event like this. So one of the questions, or one of the things you talked about, was culture and what you really like. So someone has asked, which is a really great question, saying, you said the culture was a really important part of you choosing and staying at Aberdeen. What specifically about the culture is good?
So for me, I think during the internship, because it was from home, it was a bit harder to kind of get to know everyone. But the culture for me was very open, and everyone is willing to offer you time to help and speak to anyone. They don't care what your role is. They're just more than happy to explain what they're doing, what they're working on, and giving you guidance, giving you help. So that was the main thing that I like about the culture. And I still love about Aberdeen is just that everyone's willing to talk to you, and kind of everyone's open to helping you as well. Amazing. And it sounds like there's a lot of community and activities for you to get involved in that you kind of both touched on slightly. So that's, sounds really interesting, and lots of extracurricular things that I think are really important, aren't they, for your work-life balance? So really good there. Another question, which I think is one that so many people struggle with, is around how did you juggle your studies with applying for roles? Yeah, I think that one, I do think it is really hard, and especially because obviously now it's so competitive, all of these internships, and sometimes I'd have maybe 3 or 4 video interviews that I needed to get done within a short space of time. And so it was quite overwhelming. I think how I managed it was I set up time each day and I blocked it out to say that's my like personal admin or that's my job applying time. And I would just try to be really strict with making sure that I put time aside to do job applying, because when you're studying, it can feel like it maybe goes into the back burner, but it is really important, and kind of they open early. So making sure that you get into the applications early as well, I think is important.
Yeah. Lizzie, if I can just add on to that, as someone on the other side of it, so me being the recruiter, I think that there's no harm in asking the employer for some sort of deadline. So if you've got an essay due on a specific date and you know that you've only got, say, 5 days to complete a job application assessment, there's absolutely no harm in saying, do you mind if I get an extra couple of days just because I've already got this deadline? Because we appreciate how hard that is, and we know that people have other responsibilities. So it's not always possible because of, you know, the deadlines that we need to meet internally. But I just think that there's absolutely no reason not to ask. So I would say to people, if you are stressed or struggling about the deadlines that you've got, raise it and just see how it goes. See what kind of response you get.
Yeah, that's really refreshing. So I guess in life, it's all about juggling priorities.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can imagine it actually shows it's a great skill, isn't it? Almost like managing up to say, I've got this and this.
Yeah.
What can we do? So yeah, no, it's great to hear. Okay, moving on with that kind of theme then around applications. So someone has asked around, what can students do to prepare for applications? So Amy, probably back to you on that one.
Yeah, sure. So job applications, you could definitely prepare a little bit. I think when it comes to, you know, your CV and your initial application, so filling out that questionnaire, just make sure you're proofreading it, because, you know, sometimes you can see silly mistakes in an application where someone's attached the wrong thing. I've had a job application before where someone attached a recipe rather than their CV. So I would say just triple check it before you actually make the submission. But I think when it comes to later stages, so, you know, for example, an online assessment or an interview, an online assessment you can practice online, you know, before you do the real thing. So it means that you're kind of getting into a rhythm of knowing what it is the employer's looking for and how you kind of, what the functions are doing when they're asking you like weird questions that you can't really understand. So I would say practice assessments online, and then when it comes to interviewing, it's so awkward, and I know that people hate doing it, but have a mock interview, have someone in your family or, you know, a friend sit and ask you questions that you think you might be asked. Chances are it could be a competency interview. So if you're, you know, Googling what are competency questions, just make sure you're prepped. And we always tell candidates to have a bank of examples so that you're always ready with something to draw on depending on what they ask. Because if you have a ballpark example, you find that, you know, no matter what it is that they're looking for, you can kind of like amend your answer to give them what they're looking for. So yeah, I would say practice makes perfect.
Amazing. Cool. Good advice. And I guess, Darcy, just from your side as well, I loved when you said that you really enjoyed the assessment centre. So obviously, yeah, made a very good impression. And I just wondered, was there anything from your experience? I know it's a little while ago, but anything that you can remember, any kind of top tips from your perspective about going through the assessment centre?
I think kind of top tip for me would be to make sure that you research the company as well. I think you can spend a lot of time focusing on the competency questions and about your own skills, but you do need to make sure that you're researching the company, because when it comes to an interview, they love when you sound just enthusiastic about the company and kind of know what's going on. So I'd say that's kind of a top tip. And yeah, in terms of kind of the actual initial applications, I'd say as well, make sure you're tailoring it to the company, because I know when you're doing so many, it can become easy to kind of make them all the same, but really try and tailor it to the company and have a look at what their kind of their culture and stuff is on the website and stuff as well.
Yeah, and it's always really impressive when you see candidates having contacted our employees on LinkedIn. So we've had not loads, but a good few impressive people that have came to assessment centre, and we know that they've reached out to people internally to find out what is it actually like for you? Like, what do you do day to day? What is the culture like? Because as much as you can read about it on the website, it's completely different, hearing from someone that's living it and feeling it every day. So yeah, I think it shows that you're going the kind of extra mile if you go and speak to people that work for us already.
Yeah, great. Lots of proactivity and initiative, isn't it? All those skills that employers love. So if you're doing that, then that's only a bonus. So yeah, great tips. Just having a little look at these questions. So there's a lovely one here around, can you let us know about any strong female role models that you look up to?
Oh,
that's a hard one. I think in physics, the one I always just say is Marie Curie, because I always loved nuclear physics. That was my kind of favorite topic. And so I always loved reading about the work that she did.
Oh, that's so nice. Love that.
That's a good one, Darcy. I don't know if I have one. I'm raking my brain.
I need to find one in finance.
I always say, when people ask me that, I always say my mum, because she's absolutely my role model.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, great one there. And then let's have a look at other ones here. There's one around, so you've kind of mentioned a bit, so there might be a little bit more here, but what would interns need to do to get onto the grad scheme? Any tips? So obviously, Darcy, you've done that. How did you do it? I
think all they're looking for really is for you to just show that you are making the effort and reaching out to people. I think the top tip when you are an intern is to just try and speak to as many people as possible and be interested in anything and everything you can. So for example, I got involved with one of our networks, which is like the Next Gen network, and I did things that were outside of my job role. So I think that really helped.
Yeah, I think as well it's to show that you've got a can-do attitude, because it's almost like a 10-week interview, isn't it? That's what it'll feel like to an intern, because they're completing an internship, but there is that possibility at the end that they could be a graduate for us. So I think it's all about showing that you've got the right attitude, and as Darcy said, get involved with things that are out with your kind of daily tasks. But at the same time, I would say be super careful to make sure that you're still staying on top of the project that you've been assigned for the internship, because it's so easy to go away and get involved with things, and then all of a sudden you've got so much going on and something's got to give. So I would say just be mindful about how much you take on, and also use it as an opportunity to broaden your network. I mean, because even if you weren't to gain a graduate position at the end, if you've met a bunch of people and you keep in contact with them, then who knows what kind of doors are going to open for you in the longer term.
Definitely. And it's all about experiences, isn't it? Yeah. Different things that you're joining and different people you're meeting. And Darcy, you just touched on it there around you joining some extracurricular things. So I wondered if you could just expand on those to share with our audience.
Yeah, so I'm in the Next Gen network, and I'm actually on the social and networking committee. So we basically are the young people, or just the next generation within Aberdeen. And so we put on kind of talks with kind of key stakeholders and things like that. They're informational kind of Q&As with them, which are really helpful. But we also organise, so for example, tomorrow night we have our Christmas, we're going bowling after work. So we have things like that where all the graduates and the interns and anyone else who's keen to join as well can just go along to meet people in different business areas that you probably maybe wouldn't meet in your day-to-day job.
Awesome. Sounds great. Hope you're good at bowling and can amazing. Okay, we've probably got time for one more question. So I'm going to try and make it a good question. Oh, so we've kind of talked a lot about the attraction and things like that. I'm going to go with my favourite question, because it's always nice to hear both of your thoughts. What's your favourite thing for work while working at Aberdeen?
I think my favourite thing is, so I mean, I see candidates from the very, very beginning up until the end of their recruitment process. So I love seeing the transition from their application to how they've performed at each stage, and then, you know, those calls to say, we're so happy to say that you've managed to get a job within, you know, the department that they've always wanted to work in. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've had where the people have just been absolutely ecstatic. And you feel like you're changing lives. And obviously it's like not really us that are, it is us that are making the call, but we're not responsible for how well they've performed. It's completely up down to the candidate. So I think it's those phone calls near the end of the process to confirm how well someone's performed and to tell them that they totally deserve the place that they've managed to get.
Oh, amazing. I bet that's so fulfilling.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's great.
Darcy, how about you?
Well, so I've not been with the company for too long, but I think at the moment, I don't know if it's just because we're back in the office for a bit, but it's just the atmosphere at the moment is so good. I think with the rebrand and being back in the office, everyone is just so buzzing, and everyone's liking going out for lunch, and all the extra things that are happening makes the work a bit easier.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm excited all about Aberdeen. So hopefully a lot of other people who've been watching it are excited. And as you said, applications are now open, didn't you, Amy?
That's right. Applications are open. Yep.
Amazing. So if there are any other questions, please head over to the booths and you can have them answered. So that's everything we've got time for from this side. So we've now got just over half an hour to go to the booths. So we'll be back on the main stage at 3 p.m. with Adobe, and it'll be my colleague Nisha who will be here. So once again, thank you so much, Darcy and Amy, and see you all soon.
Thanks, Lizzie. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.